What's up, guys? My name is Mikey. I'm a wedding photographer based out of California, and I'm super excited for this video. It is my very first installment of Photos by Mikey podcast, where we interview wedding professionals that work in the wedding business. You will learn about their stories, their insights, and the very first guest I have on the podcast is my good friend Claudia Terrazas, who is the owner and founder of Time With Terrazas. It's a wedding planning business, and let's check it out, guys. So welcome, Claudia.
Thank you, Mikey. Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you founded the wedding planning company that you have now.
Absolutely. Well, I am Claudia Terrazas, and I'm the owner and founder of Time With Terrazas. And I love all things love and romance and couples and happiness and life celebrations. It just brings me the greatest joy, and it gives me the greatest gift to be able to witness their special days. A little bit about me. I'm a huge foodie, so I love trying new restaurants. I don't have a particular favorite food because I love all types of food of all backgrounds, so I like it all. And what I like to do for fun is me and my hubby, we like to drive out to the beach and grab a cocktail and watch the sunset and hang out. And hang out with family too, of course.
Awesome. So when did you officially start your company? And what I'm really curious about is the name, right? Because
Yes.
when I started like researching like business names, I was like,
Yes.
I'm not too creative. It's just, okay, my first and last name in photography. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty simple. But when I was thinking about your name today, your business name today, I'm like, man, that's actually really smart, right? Because you're a wedding planning business, and like a lot of the time you're spending quality time with your clients, going over the, timeline, the planning process. So where did you find the inspiration for your name for your business?
Yes, absolutely. So way back in the earlier days, it was just events by Claudia, but I wanted to differentiate myself from the others. And I realized over time that as a wedding planner and as a wedding coordinator, there are a lot of hours, days, months, and even years leading up to the day. So that you spend a lot of quality time with your couples. And so I realized that, I wanted to incorporate that element. And then I also wanted to incorporate my culture into it. So my background is Mexican American. So I also wanted to infuse that as well. And I have to give credit to my college bestie because she actually inspired me to use my last name. So she goes, well, you love culture, you love diversity, you love incorporating all of these things. Why don't you maybe, kind of think about using your last name? And I go, you know what? That's brilliant. I absolutely agree with you. So it kind of formulated in that form, and it just worked out as the flow, the name of it. And it was a brand that I knew that I wanted to represent and also share with the culture as well. And make myself a little bit different from the others.
I love it. Yeah, because I think it really fits your style. I think, for those that don't know Claudia, I've worked with her for a few weddings now, and she's awesome. She's very, very energetic. I'm like trying to keep pace with Claudia most of the time, and she just goes above and beyond for her clients. So like that name, it really resonates with, I think, her brand.
Thank you.
And so like, when did you really officially know, like when you wanted to really like do this? Like, did you attend a wedding, or did you help a friend? Like, how did you get started?
Yes. So how I got started was I was always the go-to person in my community. So my friends and my family, they all came to me to plan their events. But officially, I jumped into the industry outside of my friends and family back in 2017, where I threw myself into the market and walked on into a networking event. And, I was telling people that I'm a wedding planner, even though, I was not professional. And I came across this amazing wedding planner who, to this day, we are still very close. They are very, very important to me. Lindsay and Leah, they took me underneath their wing, and we have been together ever since. And that was 7 years ago. So, that is what got me into the industry and learning all of the ins and outs of it. So, yeah, there's a long story there, but that's the short version.
I'm sure. I mean, I think everybody starts out in very different ways.
Mhm.
I started out just my cousin asking me to photograph their 10th wedding anniversary, and then
Nice.
I was just hooked.
Nice.
And from there, and then, at first I was hooked, but I didn't know what I was doing. And so this kind of goes to my next question is, have you ever been in a situation where you didn't know what you were doing?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I when I the very first wedding with them, wow. Oh my goodness, I learned so much. And I thought I knew what I was doing, but let me tell you, I did not know. It was very eye-opening. But I loved the fast pace. I love the adrenaline. I love the ongoing day from morning, from hair and makeup to, leading up until, getting into the ceremony, then cocktail hour, then reception, and then, of course, the end of the night. I was like, wow, this is a full day, and I love this, and I want to do this every single weekend.
Yeah, that's awesome. And kind of the same thing for me too, is I knew I love photography, but I just didn't find the right genre, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because there's so many different, like there's a lot of different events too,
Yes.
right? So
Hmm.
like, I mean, I'm sure you could have gone to like planning corporate events or things like that. But I think with weddings, and for a lot of viewers are listening, it's weddings are definitely very unique, right? Because every single wedding is
Yes.
different,
Yes.
right? So let me ask you another question, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I don't want to put any of your clients. You don't have to mention your clients, but from all the weddings that you've planned and attended, which one has to be your favorite of all time?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is so hard. Oh wow. Oh gosh. It's it's so funny. I my cousin has actually asked me this very question, and I was like, "Can I have a top 5?" Oh my gosh, because there's so many different reasons for different reasons. So if I could give you my top 5.
Sure, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to mention the names. You can just tell us like,
Yes.
where the venue was, or, where the
Yes.
city was. Yeah.
Yes. So definitely, I have a love for backyard weddings. So I do love the intimacy of a backyard wedding because it adds that special element to it. So there's one, and of course that can vary based on city and location. Luckily, we're here in Southern California, so there's all different types of cities that have properties that are large or small or medium. And then I would say, I won't say venues, but I'll say cities. Redlands is for sure another one. Just the culture and the history and the elements of it is just so unique, and I love it. LA, oh my gosh, like there's a handful of LA locations that I just love because of their uniqueness, their industrial style
Hmm.
with a cool modern flair that you
Right.
can, design any way. Um, and then I would say anything in a garden base. There's been a handful also in Orange County area that is um, amazing because it has that garden feel to it, and it's beautiful. Again, we live here in Southern California, so we get beautiful weather basically year round. And then last but not least, my heart with anything by the water, by the ocean. I've had the privilege and honor to do some in San Diego, and it was just magical. So
That's awesome.
there you
That's
go.
that's awesome. Yeah. Again, we don't put anybody on the spot because we don't want to, have any favoritism. But
Right.
yeah. But yeah, I do love any weddings that are on the beach. Actually, those are awesome because they're just the vibe. I
Yes.
love the beach vibes.
Yes. Same.
So in terms of your clients too, I know, like everybody has their own like ideal client.
Hmm.
Like in terms of like what you're trying to attract in terms of clients, like how would you describe your client avatar? Like what would be the perfect like client for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. My ideal clients are they are very much invested into their relationship, and I can't really describe it. It is something that I see and I feel from my clients, but it is where they have that deep connection and love for one another, and you can feel it instantly. It's just so, the energy of it is so magnetic and it's so intense that it's so beautiful to see. And I love that with my clients. So all my clients are, very, if you will, in love. And I know that's kind of like, what? But at the same time, it's like you can see it. It's very visual, from just the way that they look at each other, that the way that they touch each other, the way that they communicate with each other. Yeah. Another thing is, with my ideal clients is that they're very down to earth. They're very fun and very creative in their own ways. They add their personality into their wedding, which I absolutely love. And that can range from culture to color to textures to food elements, like basically anything. And I love that. And that's what the wedding day should be like. It should be an expression of the two of them together. Um, another quality or element of a client is they're very family oriented.
Hmm.
That's something that's really, really important. Of course, it's not, there is no perfect family, but family is very important to them. And they are wanting to provide their family and friends um, with an experience. So they want to give them something that they are going to be able to enjoy and make memories for a lifetime. And then I would say last would be um, that we can just hang out. That we can just hang out, and as you know, like, we've worked together and we've spent time with our clients together, working with them to create the timeline, to create what an engagement shoot looks like, to create, all of these things so that it runs nicely. And it's just being able to have, you know sit down and have a meal and have a cocktail together. You want to be able to just feel comfortable with that. So yeah.
I totally agree. I think when you find your ideal client and when they are your ideal client is
Hmm.
because when you have that conversation, like let's say you have a Zoom call
Hmm.
or just a consultation call,
Hmm.
usually right away I can kind of tell like, okay, they're kind of my people, right? And we kind of click right away.
Yes.
And it just makes things a lot easier because you
Yes.
guys we're all in the same wavelength and we all have the same values, right? Like I really love when weddings are oriented for families
Hmm.
because I like attending weddings where it's just fun and open and people are just you could see in their faces when it's a really fun wedding.
Yes.
And that's kind of the type of clients I'm looking for where people just wants to have fun for the wedding.
I agree.
And so that kind of leads my to my next question is like in terms of like your wedding planning process, like do you take a lot of their considerations? Like I know like, in terms of like what they're looking for, let's say they have a lot of guests, right? Like let's say 200 guests. Do you always look for the venue first or they already have the venue locked in when they come to you? How does that usually work for you?
Um, with the clients that I have worked with, they have already had their venue selected because they have a date, and then we book the rest of the the vendors together. But that is a service that I do also offer as well. If they don't have anything at all and they want to start from scratch and they want to do venue searching together, then I'm certainly happy to provide that for them. And that's part of the full planning process. Um, and so then we would together go venue searching. We have consultations and meetings and design boards that we start creating so we can start getting that visual as to what they are envisioning. What a backyard wedding versus a beach wedding versus, um, you know, um, a ballroom, they're all going to have very different styles and feels. And, it's very good to, from the beginning, have these conversations so we can know which direction to go to and not waste time.
Absolutely, that makes so much sense. And I think one of the misconceptions sometimes too, I think, and from my end, I'm not a wedding planner, but in terms of like a wedding planner that is with them from day one,
Hmm.
compared to someone that just they hire like a week out that just does wedding coordinator on the day,
Hmm.
right? Tell us like what's the differences between that, and what can a full wedding planning company provide as value to that couple?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know it it's not always in everyone's budget to have a planner from day one. So the difference is, they've got more homework to do. They've got a lot more to do on their own, and they have to basically do all the legwork. And where, as if they were to do a full wedding planner, then they are guided throughout the entire process. I am with them. I'm able to provide them and help suggest different elements that maybe they wouldn't have been able to see it on their own. So, for example, when it comes to the vendors, one of the elements is that we have to fully understand what vision that they're looking for. And once I understand that, then I can provide them, oh, I think these vendors will be great options for them. Or, oh, I think this would be a great option for them based off of the conversations that we have. Whereas if you don't have a full service planner, you're kind of just, you know, you're kind of shopping on your own. You're
Right.
not really sure what you're looking for. You're like, in different directions. Sometimes you get some great ones, sometimes you get some not so great ones. So you're just experiencing it all on your own with no guidance, without no help or any direction or input. Um, and so that's what really makes the big difference. And then the other thing too is, um, when you have a wedding planner with you from day one, you feel this sense of confidence in your wedding day and making decisions together versus not having one. And so I think that level of confidence, will determine, of course, on each couple, because there are some couples out there that definitely can plan their own. They're really great at making decisions. They're really kind of great at like basically reading the room, saying like, oh, this vendor is going to be a good fit. Oh, this one's not so great. So that's great. But for those that don't and they need more help or they need more guidance, that's where I would highly suggest investing in a wedding planner.
And I really think that it adds so much value to the clients that are really wanting to plan like a larger wedding, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot more things happening in the background. Like
Yep.
let's say for example they're trying to host like a 300 guest wedding. I
Yep.
mean, you got to find a large venue. You got to, I mean, you got to hire like a large staff. I mean, during the day,
Yep.
right, to like get everything prepped. So in terms of like the actual wedding day, I know you also are there early in the morning, right?
Yes.
Until like the end of the wedding
Yes.
day. So tell us a little bit about your day and how does that work? Like, are you there
Yes.
like from 6 a.m. to like midnight? Like, what's your
Yes.
timeline?
Yes. Yes. I'm actually, so we kind of start the day before the wedding. And that's where some people also don't realize that that is
Mm.
part of the wedding experience. So that's the with rehearsal. But I take it a step
Uh,
further. Here at Time With Terrazas, we make a plan to unload some of the items that you don't need to worry about. And those that are like, your cake cutting set. Maybe you have some engagement frames that you want to put on your welcome table. You have a card box. Maybe you have your seating chart, things of that nature. We take from you the day before and we then bring it to the venue. So that way you don't have to worry about it, or you don't have to have a family member worry about it or anything like that. It kind of just relieves a load off of you. All you need to worry about is getting your dress and your outfit and everything to the hotel or wherever you're getting ready at. So that way it just kind of alleviates the load. And then, of course, we're running rehearsal. So we're practicing with the entire bridal party and the family how we're going to do the ceremony. And of course, it's sometimes it can be done at a place of worship. So sometimes it's at a church or a temple of some sort. And that's fine. We are still there to also help guide and communicate with everyone that's in the party. And then we also take it one step further and we provide a mini timeline for all of the bridal party and family members to know what the day is going to look like. So that way everyone knows where they need to be at what time. And it kind of alleviates a little bit of their stress and anxiety and a million questions. And then, yes, that leads to the bridal party and the bride and groom going off to enjoy their rehearsal dinner. And then I go home and then we all meet up in the morning. So I am there with our lovely ladies getting ready with hair and makeup. And that's something that makes us a little bit different because we provide that bridal consultant in the morning. And this is how we're able to stay on schedule for the entire day. I know not all wedding planners or not all wedding coordinators do this. One, this is just how I've been taught and this is what has worked. And luckily, knock on wood, but it seems to work out really well. Our clients are really happy. They feel confident. They feel secure. They know that they're in good hands. We're there to help the florist bring the bouquets up. We're there to help direct, photographers and videographers when they're like, okay, we're here at the lobby. Perfect. Let me go grab them. Making sure all these moving parts are happening so that way, mom doesn't have to worry about it or, the maid of honor doesn't have to worry about it. So there's all of those moving parts. And then, we're there making sure it's all ready to go and, getting that shot list in, and then off we go depending on where we're going to. So sometimes it's directly to the venue if the venue has the ceremony and reception at the same location, or sometimes it's two locations. So sometimes then you're going to a church or a temple of some sort. So it just depends on that. And then typically right after that is when we do photos. So, and I'm pretty sure you remember this, where we went to 3 different locations. Wow. And it was beautiful. I mean, we can literally make a lot of things happen. We just have to make a plan for it. And we did. We knocked out all 3 locations in the time that we did. We actually finished even earlier, which was great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then it's, basically going to the venue after we've completed all the photos and videos. And then basically depending on, sunset and, timing wise, sometimes we're doing sunset photos while cocktail hour is happening. And then that way the guest of honor can enjoy cocktail hour with their guest. And then, running through the whole formalities of the evening. So grand entrance, first dance, mother-daughter, father-son, father-daughter, mother-son. And then, then we do dinner, then speeches. Sometimes they want to do the table run. That's been a fun thing. That's a new trend, I guess, where they're running to table. And then we go to speeches. We do bouquet, garter toss, and all the way until like the grand exit if they want to do a grand exit. And then we're there to help gather those personal items again, and then we put them into somebody's car. And then we're there to make sure that rentals and catering and everything is cleaned up, everything for the night. And that's a wrap.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff you just said right now.
I know.
But let me just make a point, because I think a lot of clients are maybe listening to this and they're planning a wedding. They don't really realize how much different things go into like the pre-wedding planning process, or even just the staging of the wedding even the day before. And I'm glad you mentioned it, because sometimes when I attend weddings and some of my clients don't hire a wedding planner or a wedding coordinator. I mean, there's a coordinator for the venue, right?
Right.
But they're only responsible for like the actual time they get to the venue.
Exactly.
Right. They're not there during like prep or the church or anything before the actual venue.
Right.
So I always find that they're always a little bit stressed out, like regarding like even like the little details, like personal items you have to bring, like like photos or anything, or like mementos you have to bring. They're always
Right.
thinking about that.
Exactly.
And that's kind of like why I was like always like, even for me, I always try to recommend a wedding planner or coordinator because it's peace of mind, right?
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. After the wedding day, I'm sure, again, I already know this because you're amazing.
Oh, thanks. You're amazing.
But how does your clients feel once they're like done with the wedding? Like what are some like the comments they tell you when
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. We couldn't have done this without you. It was better than we even imagined it. We've hit some bumps along the way in the planning process, which of course it's bound to happen. But they're like, but seeing it fully come through on the wedding day was exceeding our expectations. We love the warmth that you've shown, my grandma or my mom, thank you for being so attentive. Thank you for, being so accommodating. Sometimes we may need to make a little tweak here and there, and that's no problem. It's your wedding day. I want to make it the way you want it to be. I have no problem as long as I have a little bit of notice so that way I can communicate to the rest of the team. Absolutely, we can do it. Yeah, they feel very happy and very grateful, and I can say that because I feel like at the end of the night I end up there's lots of hugs and crying and tears and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so sad, like we're this is the end of our journey together. But it was an honor and a privilege to work with my couples, and I think they leave happy.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And another thing you mentioned earlier was that you actually attend the rehearsal, right?
Yes.
And that's some of the things I tell my team and anybody that's starting out in the wedding photography business, or even in the planning business, or any of the vendors that are in the wedding business. It's like go above and beyond, because if you're starting out, you want to show value and you want to show up, and so that's one way you can like separate yourself from other people. And I'm not sure if other photographers do this, but I actually also show up for the rehearsal because it helps me understand how the lineup's gonna be, the lighting conditions inside the church, if it's outside. And so again, it's just another thing you can do for your couple to show them that you care.
Yep.
Right. I think that's the biggest factor in wedding business, is like you got to show that you care, because it's a one-time thing that they're doing, and
Exactly.
and they're they're already a little stressed out.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so they're like, you don't want to have stress about anything else. And,
Yes.
and that's why I was like, when I do feel like I'm working with a planner, like things are a lot easier for me.
Yes.
I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it's already hard, but it's definitely a lot
Yes.
easier because I know things are gonna
Yes.
go a lot easier, and things are being managed by someone.
Yes.
Right. And then the bride and groom is not gonna be stressing out as much. They're not
Yes.
worrying about, oh, did the flowers get here? Is the DJ
Right.
here? Right.
Right.
Is the table settings ready?
Right.
And so let me ask you this, like, since you've done many weddings now, what's one of the most like challenging things that you have to gone through so far? Like maybe an obstacle or something that happened during the wedding day that really like challenged you a little bit. If you give us an example.
Yeah. I would say, and not to pick on the backyard wedding specifically, but this was a backyard wedding experience where if they do not provide enough hands to help, it becomes very overwhelming very quickly. And so some of the elements that a venue provides is, they have the staff, they have a catering there on site, and then they have somebody to go to if something were to go wrong. Because it's their property. But when it's a backyard, it's really complicated. It can get really complicated really quick. And so a couple of those elements that were really challenging is if the power goes out because we're taking too much electricity from the house and the voltage from the DJ and is taking too much. And, there's another side where like maybe the photo booth is also taking too much. And then they have the restrooms, the porta potties that are also taking a lot of energy. All of these elements, can kind of clash, if there's not a plan for it or if there's not a backup generator for these things. And so that has been an overwhelming challenge to happen because, if you don't have any light, electricity,
Oh
or
yes.
running water for the restrooms, like, oh my goodness, it can get into quite an interesting situation. And then, of course, it becomes very overwhelming for the homeowner. And, it's very important that, like, they are aware of, all of the things because essentially they're kind of like acting as the venue coordinator, kind of, even though it's not a venue, it's a backyard. So I would say that was an area where it was just one, there was not enough hands to help with a lot of the moving parts, and then two, yeah, the
Do you,
fear of like having the electricity going out and the power just kind of collapsing.
do you mean the staff for the actual venue or?
So for like backyard events,
Okay.
they would need to hire additional servers to help bus tables, and then they would also need to have bartenders as well. I would not never recommend ever to have just here's the bar, help yourself. No, somebody has to serve them. Even if it is your aunt's backyard, like you should be it should be served properly and of course proportionately.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So that is what I'm meaning. Like they need extra hands, and so if there's not enough hands or enough stuff, excuse me, not enough staff, that's where it can be very challenging.
Awesome, awesome. So what's one thing you wish you would have known before starting your career? Like if you had to talk to your younger self, like what advice would you give her?
Oh my gosh, don't be afraid to start in other areas in the wedding world. So I thought, gosh, and this is gonna age me, but at the time, there wasn't the wedding planner and the wedding coordinators were not as open and communicative as they are today. So I thought, like, okay, well, if I can't go under somebody's wing, then I don't know where to start. I would have told my younger self and said, hey, that's okay. If you can't find somebody that will allow you to shadow and intern and like do all of these things, go and learn how rentals work. Go and learn how photography works. Go and learn how a florist works. Go and learn other areas in the industry so that way you can start understanding all of those processes as well. I wish my younger self would have, been a little bit more um adventurous to experience those other elements because they're very, very important.
Awesome. So when you first started, I'm sure everybody that starts any wedding photography business or any wedding planning business, you're gonna have some failures and some
Yep.
ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe like a time when you had kind of like a really low point in
Mm-hmm.
your career?
Yeah. It was I would say the first year, and I was so because I'm a very emotional person. Like I'm either really happy or like if something doesn't go well, I'm really hard on myself and I get very emotional. Um, there was a time where I was attracting all of the clients. I was attracting a lot of people. Um, and the same thing that kept happening over and over again was, you're too expensive. You're too expensive. We love you. We love your personality, but you're just too expensive. And I was like, what? It is funny because those prices back then, now I was like non-existent.
Right.
Now I was like, oh my gosh, and I think it was this, unrealistic reality that people thought that it was, like a hobby, if that makes sense. And so therefore, you shouldn't pay more than like $500 because what are you really doing? And I was like, oh my gosh, but we're really doing so much more. And so I would say that was definitely a really challenging, hard time at the beginning, and just having to navigate through the yeses that they wish they would have booked or that they wanted to book, but they didn't do so due to pricing. And so, hearing no's and no's and no's, you kind of start to realize, excuse me, that there is, for every, like, I don't know, 5 no's, there might be 1 yes, and so you start kind of figuring out the statistics of that and, overcoming that. But that I would say that was a hard one.
So how did you overcome the no's, right? Did you just keep at it and keep marketing yourself?
Yep, I kept going. I did not devalue myself. I did not want to lower my prices because I knew my worth, and I knew at the time, even though I wasn't, to where I am today, but I still had experience, I still had knowledge, and I still had my background in hospitality. So I knew that I was providing a lot of value and service. And that was what kept me going, because I was like, well, I know my worth. So therefore, if they don't see my worth, or if they don't value it, or they don't understand the process, that's okay. Maybe we're just not a good fit,
Right. Right.
And so I realized that sometimes when a client may want to negotiate on a price, sometimes that's not always the best thing, because if they're negotiating from the beginning, then the planning experience might also look very similar to that.
Right.
So.
Right. And they may not be your client
Exactly.
after all, right?
Yep.
If they kept negotiating and they don't see your value, right? And there's been a few clients who've contacted me, for example, and they're like, I don't care the price, just let's do this.
Yes, exactly.
Which I love, because
Yes.
they've already kind of looked at my website, my social media, and they know what they can expect. So they see the value in what I provide, right? And those are the type of clients you always want, right? But sometimes you'll get clients that are not going to be your ideal client all the time. But if you see a point where the clients are, you know what, can we do this? They can, like, discount. Like like what I feel like any of the vendors that are participating in a wedding, it's a luxury service.
Yes.
Right. We're providing something that's very unique. It's something that we're taking stress away from the bride and groom, because it's a one of a lifetime moment.
Yes.
So you wanna provide something that's gonna be very unique and a high standard. And so when you first started, and this is another interesting question, is like, did you ever like evolve in terms of, like, let's say, in terms of like your clientele, did you try to like maneuver into like different niches? Like, for example, I know some people, they try to focus primarily on like cultural type weddings, where they do primarily like Indian weddings, or some just like Christian weddings. Like, did you ever niche yourself into that category, or you kind of just did everything?
I think just by nature, was already very established to me that I knew that I was wanting to do like diverse cultures.
Mhm.
So, that bringing, Mexican Americans and, Asian cultures together, or, um, those different types of blendings, if you will. Um, I knew like that was what I wanted from the get go, bringing, that flavor into
Mhm.
the diversity part of it. Um, and so, yes, so that I knew that that was something I already knew from the beginning that I wanted to do. And then, of course, a lot of, being, Mexican American, just naturally already attracting, other Latinos in the Latino community. So that was also very prevalent there as well. So, yeah. No, not necessarily a niche for like a specific type, um, just because I love all elements of it. So, yes, I would say
Awesome.
that. Mhm.
Awesome. Um, has there been anyone in the industry that has been kind of like influential to you, like with a podcast or anybody that you work with that kind of still inspires you to do your thing?
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. There's so many. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. But yeah, I am part of a community called the Planner's Vault with Megan Gillian, and she's amazing. I had the privilege and honor to meet her in person in Vegas at Wedding MBA last year. And I'm just blown away with the community. I love it. It's just been so great. Learning so much from my I don't know, I don't know what to call them, but they're my mentors, or like,
Right, right.
inspiration people that are leading the industry in such great directions, and I love where it's going. And that's also Renee Dallo. Listen to her podcast all the time. I love everything that she's doing. Just amazing. I also too had the privilege of meeting her
Oh,
a couple years back. So it was just great that so many um, women and men too in the industry that I've been able to meet, and it's just been an honor. So yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Um, has there been any books that have helped you along your journey?
Oh my gosh, this is where I'm so bad. I other than college, I kind of stopped reading books. Oh my gosh, that's so bad to say.
It's all good. I think we have YouTube now, so
Yeah. But podcast has been my go-to. But I do remember reading Girl Boss from cover to cover. So
Mm,
that one was great. I loved just hearing um her experience through her own journey. But yeah, no, yeah, podcast is more my go-to.
oh yeah, absolutely. Me too, because I like listening to podcasts when I'm like running or just like driving. It's
Yeah.
like an easy thing to do, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
like sit down and read a book all the time.
Yeah.
But before we get going to the other questions,
Yeah.
I totally forgot to mention this office.
Oh.
This amazing office
Oh my
we're
gosh.
in right now. We're in Stanton, right?
Yes, we're
And
in Stanton, yeah.
Stanton is like near Long Beach, right?
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
really right in the heart of like everything. Like you go 10 minutes down, you're at Knott's Berry Farm. You go about 15 to 20 minutes out, you're in Disneyland. If you go out another 15 minutes, you can either be in Huntington or Long Beach. So we're right in the middle of like everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I apologize for the listeners, but we're gonna post this on YouTube. But walk us through real quick, Claudia,
Yeah.
on your setup for the office.
Yeah.
Give us your
Oh gosh.
MTV Cribs tour.
MTV Cribs. Oh my gosh. Well, for those of you, if you kind of seen my personality, pink is very much who I am, and is very part of my brand. It's very playful and fun and colorful, very inviting. I want it to be something that brings joy, that brings a smile on. So, yeah, I have tassels are my thing, so I love anything that like is hanging. Very colorful. Peonies are my favorite. That is part of also my brand. Um, I love pineapples. So pineapple is the symbol of hospitality. For those that don't know, so my background is in hospitality. So studying, hotels, restaurants, and event planning. A disco ball, because who doesn't love a disco ball?
Hopefully that
It
doesn't
is-
fall on us.
I know. I was worried about it if it was gonna roll forward. Oh my gosh, but it's in place. I'm a coffee gal, so all things coffee is a must. So I do love receiving gifts and getting specialty mugs. So that's really nice. And then I know you can't really see, but I do have a board with all of my notes, that my thank you cards and my notes, they really mean everything to me. It's the reason why I do what I do. Um, and of course, a lot of photos. I love photos of marking each event. So, when you get those photos from like at the photo booth,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, I've got quite a nice collection there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you can't see it if you're listening to this
Yeah.
podcast, but there's like a ton of photo booth photos right there.
I know. And it's so funny. I had to like take some out so I can make space for the new ones. So that's what I did. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how does it feel when you have clients in here? Like, I mean, do you always invite them to the office or it just depends, right?
It depends.
Yeah.
Yes, I give them the option certainly, when we do our power meeting, which is an in-person or Zoom meeting, depending on what's happening, and of course, the distance. So sometimes, I'll have clients in Santa Barbara, and so of course they're not necessarily going to make the drive down, so they won't probably opt out. But for anyone that's like in LA or San Diego, Inland Empire,
Right.
Orange County, and if they do want to, of course, the door is always open to have them. But I know most recently, due to gas prices and things of that nature, we just stick to Zoom. But every so often, we will have a meeting here for them to meet, and then we can have our power meeting together.
That's awesome. How long have you had this office?
Oh gosh, I think we're coming up on 2 years in March. So yeah, it's a little over a year now. So yeah, my husband and I, we both are entrepreneurs, and so we get to share this office space. So when you come, we do have the lobby, and it's kind of like the open space for everybody, and then he has his office, and then we're literally a window away. So yeah, so it's great. It's truly a blessing, and I'm very grateful and for where we are. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so time for some tough questions
Oh, gosh.
for you.
Okay, hit me.
So one of the questions I like to ask every single one of my guests
Okay.
is this really interesting question. So let's say if money wasn't an option, right? Like you're like a billionaire at this point. What would you do for most of the day? Like what would your day-to-day look like?
Oh my gosh. What would I do if money wasn't an option? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's wild. I mean, I would like to be a beach bum. I'm just kidding. Oh no, but really, what?
Margaritas on the beach?
Margaritas on the beach, just chilling. Then I would probably read a book.
You got all the time in the world now.
Yeah, I have all the time. Oh my gosh, yeah, I would do that. No, I would so on a more serious note. I would definitely would like to provide something to give back to the industry in some way. Give back into the community. Being in hospitality, one of the things that I really loved doing was volunteering time and services to different shelters or different organizations that needed, volunteers. I enjoy doing that. That was really nice. And I would like to do that. I would like to, um, this has always been my biggest dream and the next adventure that I look forward to. Hopefully, we can reach this milestone together. Is owning my own venue. That is
That's awesome.
something it's just, it's something I've always wanted. And yeah, that's what I would like to do. Open up a couple of venues to, you know, provide the space and provide, experiences for, weddings and maybe some special events and things of that nature. But yeah. And then of course travel. It would be so nice. Me and my
Mhm.
husband, um, sadly to say, but we have not left the country. So we've just been working away. But it would be very, very nice to travel. I would love to see Europe. I'd love to see different Asian cultures. I'd love to go and see, other Latino
Mhm.
countries as well. So yes, I would. That would be really nice if I could. So I
Uh,
guess all three or all four, be a beach bum, you volunteer time with the community, have a venue, and travel.
so what style of venue would that be? Like I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
because I kind of have a feeling that you kind of want it on the beach.
Yes, I do. I envision it with a view of the beach. Yes. So that is something that I have always dreamed of, as well as it having a really large terrace. So
Mm.
terraces actually translates into terrace in
Oh.
English. So having a venue that's overlooking the ocean with a terrace wrapped, because I envision it like cocktail hour out there,
Ah.
and it just kind of sets the whole vibe, the whole experience. Of course, live music,
Mhm.
and yeah, that would be how we would have it, and then of course everyone would come in for a reception. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's what I would like to have. If for whatever reasons, if I never get the opportunity to get
Mhm.
$1 billion, then I've always loved private estates.
Oh,
So a beautiful, modern
right.
private estate that you can basically create whatever you want to. And I would preferably would like to have it on the more smaller end.
Mhm.
I definitely wouldn't want to go more than 100 people or
Right.
100, because would want to focus on a more intimate style,
Right.
but in a very fun, modern way.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, last question for you.
Yes.
So since you've been in the industry for a while now, if you had to give like 3 tips for anybody that is wanting to start their own wedding planning business,
Mhm.
what would that be?
Um, Reach out to somebody that you feel that you can connect with, and not just because um, they have X amount of followers, or because they've been featured in
Mm,
multiple wedding magazines. They have all these awards. Reach out to somebody that you want to be able to one day call a friend,
mhm.
and you would want to build that relationship with them. So, of course, you're going to have to do some digging. You're going to have to do some research. You're going to have to do, some phone calls or Zoom meetings or whatever it may be. But I would definitely say find somebody that you can truly learn from, and someone who truly wants to see you win and succeed as well.
And then to go even further
Hmm.
in that, in terms of like finding a mentor, right? Because I know that's the
Hmm.
hardest part. I think if you're
Hmm.
starting out, is like, reaching out to all the different, companies, and they sometimes don't give you the time of day.
Right.
So what other like tricks can you do to like
Yeah.
connect with other vendors?
Yes. So, oh my gosh, we live in the world of
Mm-hmm.
amazing social media. Like, gosh, this was not the world some, couple decades ago. But Because we live in a world where there is so much social media, you have the opportunity to engage. So engage with people that you want to connect with. Comment
Mm-hmm.
on their posts. But not just like a heart. Like you want to give a thoughtful
Mm-hmm.
comment. Um, I would even say if it is welcome, of course, because not everyone wants a bunch of DMs,
Mm-hmm.
but if you happen to, give an introduction, and I would also say use their name. I feel like there's so many like DMs that's like, oh hi, and it's like, oh, my name is Claudia.
but sometimes like they don't put their name on like their Instagram handle, so like, you know what I
You
mean?
would have to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
research.
exactly.
My thing is, I'm like, go to their website. It has to be somewhere. Or sometimes, there'll be a post of like introduction Fridays. Scroll as many posts as you need to find a photo of just them and say, "Hi, I am so and so." It's like, oh, perfect. I know who this person's name is. This is Catherine or whatever the name is, and it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, so that's another tip too. Definitely reach out to them
Mm-hmm.
by name. And if DMs, if you're still like, maybe that's a little informal or a little impersonal, shoot an email. Shoot an email again with the name. That's very, very important. You don't want to be like, hi there, or hi, Time With Terrazas. It's like, what? I would say another tip is to attend networking events now that things are back to
Right,
normal.
right, yeah.
I can't stress that enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I was able to get into the industry. And yes, it's scary and nerve-wracking, and there's a lot of people, and you being a newbie, it's gonna be nerve-wracking,
Right.
but go anyways. Go anyways. Do it. And have the mindset of putting only the emphasis on creating 3 relationships. I remember this personally back when I was doing this, that I was just um trying to meet everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but then not really making a relationship with them, or not getting to
Mm-hmm.
know them, or not getting to understand their business or who they are as a person, that you miss it. So you want to go into the networking events, intentionally, and wanting to build at least, 2 to 3
Mm-hmm.
relationships. And then of course follow up. Um I think that has been I would strongly suggest that. And then of course, if for whatever reason they don't have, time, or, that the time to give you,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, ask them, hey, do you have any recommendations that maybe I may be able to reach out to that would be able to help me? I'm learning, I wanted to learn more about this, or I want to learn more about that. I mean, everyone, that's the other great thing about this industry, which I love, is that everyone knows everybody.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you're going to come across the
Yeah.
same people that know each other. And that's what I love. So, yeah,
That's
I would say that.
That's actually a great tip because I've done that myself
Mm-hmm.
where, some photographers, when I first started out and I went to mixers, like they were very busy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would always just ask them, like, do you
Mm-hmm.
know anyone that would probably need my help? And I think that's like one of the other things you can do is like, don't just focus on just one photographer in the beginning, but if you find like a really good connection with a vendor,
Mm-hmm.
keep building that relationship,
Yeah.
right? Because I'd rather have like 2 really good relationships than like 100 relationships where, it's not as like deep, right?
Agree. Yep.
Because
100%.
now we have more mutual like values. We really have like a deeper connection of what we think is, very important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when you started out making those connections, did you like focus more on connecting with wedding planners or like even just anybody in the industry? Like, did you have like a strategy on that?
I did focus on wedding coordinators,
Okay.
wedding planners. I did. Because I knew, and there's this phrase, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is the community over competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're essentially all competing against each other to, you know, we're all doing the same thing. However, there is plenty of clients to go around for everyone. And so if you shift your mindset to think of it as a more of a community, you
Hmm.
will find so much more value and so much more trust in the process that goes way past one particular client or one particular event. And that's the longevity, I would say. So it is really nice because I really do have a great sense of like community within wedding planners that I know I can go to if I need a question, or hey, I need a backup, I need another assistant, whatever the case may be. um there's that open dialogue, there's
Hmm.
trust, there's years that has been put into it, and I feel that has been able to help me be where I'm at today because of these relationships.
Yeah, I totally agree too. Being on the photography side, initially, I had like a bad experience
Mm-hmm.
because I thought I was always like, okay, it's about me. I need to get my own clients. But then when
Mm-hmm.
I realized, like, oh, I mean, there's enough clients to go around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
everybody, if you realize that everybody here is to focus on just helping our clients and helping each other,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if you're starting out, sometimes a really good photographer may be very busy, and then they can send you refer you, right? So it's like there's also that community factor where everybody's here to help each other, like
Mm-hmm.
especially during when COVID was like really
Oh
bad,
yes.
right? I had a couple of situations where one of my good friend from San Diego, who was a videographer, he had a client who was, I think, about a month out from their wedding, and that client's photographer got COVID or something, or got
Mm-hmm.
really sick, and
Oh
they
my
needed
gosh.
somebody like 7 days out.
Yep.
And luckily I
Mm-hmm.
was available, so I
Mm-hmm.
helped them out. And so that's just one instance.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, I think if you, like you said, which is very important, if you change your mindset to connect with everybody with an open mind, not
Mm-hmm.
competition,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be very successful in this business.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And um to piggyback on something earlier is like, you are going to come across um some some people that you thought you could trust or that you thought you could work with, but then just know at that point in time, like maybe this is a good time to go our separate ways, because that
Mm-hmm.
certainly did happen with me
Right.
too. I mean, it's not always sunshine and
Mm-hmm.
rainbows, and it's just I knew at that certain point with a particular
Mm-hmm.
planner, and on my end I was like, oh, okay, I guess maybe this is just where, it was a great experience, thank you, and we just go our separate ways. And that's okay, because your mindset, your work ethic, your values, your everything is going to change, and sometimes that doesn't always align with who maybe you originally started with, which is okay. But embrace change, I would say, for sure, because in this industry it change is happening all the time, and so you want to try to adapt as quickly as you can.
Oh, I totally agree. And then one of the things again, I want to mention too is like, looking back when I first started, and then now I've been doing this for 7 years, is like, as an experienced photographer, I always want to give back. So if
Mm-hmm.
anybody reaches out to me too, I'm sure you do this
Same.
on social media,
Mm-hmm.
or on, my website, and they want to shout at me, I
Mm-hmm.
always consider them, right? I never want to like feel like I'm like too egotistical or anything like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
because a lot of the people that I looked up to in the beginning helped me out so much,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to be that person. I always want to give them advice, even if I have to have like a quick call with them.
Right.
So how do you feel when
I
like,
love that.
yeah? So how do you feel when like people, like, I don't want to say call them newbies, but
Yeah, yeah.
when
It's
you
okay.
when
Yeah.
newbies like hit you up and like, you
Yeah.
know what, can I shadow you, or could I be
Yeah.
of help to you? Like how do you approach that?
Yeah. So I'm very happy to say that we did have our first intern um this year, which I am very grateful and honored that we were able to do it. It was a 6-week program. And I I agree with you. We all start somewhere and we all need to learn at some point. Um, I went ahead with the same procedure or similar
Mm-hmm.
procedures, I would say, that I did when I was in college. So that's applying for, an internship program, and having the interview, being able to explain or showcase like work that you have done, and it's always going to be, work that you've done with friends and family. It's good, you want to kind of gauge to see where it's at. And it's setting realistic expectations. I think what I,
Mm-hmm.
especially with my intern, or when people come out and reach out to me, I'm like, look, you just see the finished product of a beautiful picture or video, but there is a lot that goes behind the
Mm-hmm.
scenes. So are you willing and ready to put your hands into it? Because it's a lot of work. And if it's a yes, then I know that we're going to be able to work really well together. If it's a, oh, we have to,
Mm-hmm.
if there's any hesitant, if there's any questions, then I realize that this may not be a good
Right.
fit,
Right.
um and then yeah, we proceed moving forward with what it looks like in the office, what it looks like to run a rehearsal, what it looks like to set up for an event, what it looks like for running a mock table setup, things like that. There's all these behind the scene things. And then of course, running an event. I don't, of course, I definitely do not expect them to pull a 16, 18-hour day with me. That's too much. But they definitely are shadowing me in that area. But yeah, I definitely like to make sure that we're going to be able to work together, that there's trust, that there's going to be good communication. And yeah, I mean, I certainly would bring on another one if it was a great fit, I think.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I think even when I look for my own team, my own associates or seconds or assistants,
Mm-hmm.
I always try to look for people that kind of have the same personality as me
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
the same values, right?
Yes.
And because I want to make sure like we work together very in a cohesive unit during the day.
Yes.
But also too, I do get your point in terms of people. You can kind of already tell if it's
Yeah.
not going to work out, and then you just have to kind of separate your ways.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel when like there's some, because anybody that you're training, there's challenges, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like when you have a new intern, like do you actually have them like shadow you for the entire wedding day, or like just have them on certain portions of the wedding day?
Yeah, so I try to just keep it to like an 8-hour
Eight
day.
hour day.
So it will just depend on the logistics wise. But yeah, I try to keep it to an 8-hour
Okay.
day for them, unless they have the endurance.
Try to keep up with Terrazas over here.
Oh my gosh, because I mean, I
It's a
can't even
long
run
day.
very fast.
Yeah,
So
it's a
that's the
long
funny
day.
thing. But it is a long day.
Yeah, it's a long day.
And I'm just like, well, I mean, if you are willing to stick it out with me, then come on board. But I don't expect you to, because it's crazy. And I think too, because and I'm so grateful for my mentors who are also my friends now. And it seems like we're family now.
Mhm.
You know, that's just how I was taught, and having that endurance from the very get-go, like that's gonna go a long, long way.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
can only do an 8, maybe 10-hour day, okay, then that's gonna be different. But every planner, every coordinator is a little bit different. So I
Yeah.
would say, yeah. But yeah, going back to your thought with the having somebody being able to connect with you while you're working together, especially with photography, I feel like you have to have this communication that is very strong
Mhm.
and avoids any type of clashing,
Mhm.
because you're directly in front of the client. So there is no time to like
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why, like
Mm-hmm.
I love what you're doing in terms of interns, because usually when I have anybody that it's kind of a newbie and they want to, shadow me,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they kind of get the wrong idea. Oh, can I bring my camera? Can I second shoot? Well, it's just different, right? Because you're just
Mm-hmm.
starting out. You haven't even done any major weddings yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell them, like, just come. Don't
Mm-hmm.
bring your camera.
Mm-hmm.
Just follow me along the day. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like sometimes they don't realize what it takes, right? Because
Right.
you know how it is. Sometimes you don't have time to eat. I mean, I have like 2 minutes to eat sometimes, or running around to 3 different locations
Yeah.
for photo shoots. I mean, 3 different
Yeah.
like venue. I mean, it gets crazy
It
sometimes.
gets
Like you don't have
crazy.
no
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and I highly recommend anyone that's starting out and wants to learn from anyone is to actually have an open mind.
Yes.
Just see if you're gonna like it. Because
Yes.
sometimes, like, you don't realize. I mean, you see what you see on social media,
Right.
but you don't see what goes behind the scenes. Like, for
Yes.
example, like when I first started, when you attend a wedding, right?
Yes.
Oh, you just, it's a nice ceremony. The music's nice. You go to cocktail hour, but then, like, where's the photographers? Like, where's the wedding planner? I mean, they're running around all day,
Yeah.
right? So that's the
Yeah.
thing that I always recommend. Like, if you're gonna get into this industry, shadow someone first,
Yes.
see if you like it, and so what would your advice to someone that's starting out, like, if they're gonna shadow someone, like, what would your advice be for that person to, if they really want to do this?
Yes. Invest in good shoes. Invest in some good, comfortable shoes. Because let me tell you, especially for the ladies, we're now running around in high heels. Please get that out of your mind. You're not running around in flats. Please get that out of your mind. There's just no way. So shoes is very important. And then on a more serious note, I would say that you have to be a sponge. You have to be a sponge. And I say this kindly, but your input at that moment does not matter. And I know it's a little harsh. It's a little harsh. Sorry. As I say it kindly. I say it very kindly. Your input does not matter at that particular point, and just understand that there is a time and place when your input is needed, or when it's suggested, or when you need to, say something. You are there to be a sponge and observe, and you're supposed to understand and see the orchestration of everything. You have to see how it all is cohesive, and there is no time. And I am guilty of this. I will say this is a learning experience for myself, and that's the reason why I am giving this little tough love, is because I experienced it. I put in my input for a wedding planner I said, well, what if we did it like this? And she did not like that. Let me just say, she did not like that. And she basically put me in my place real fast. She was like, well, yeah, we're not doing that. And you have to just know when it's the right time.
Right.
You just have to know. But I thought I was being helpful. I thought I was being able to bring something to the table and provide that note of whatever it was. But sometimes that's not what they want. They don't want that. And you have to talk to whoever you are shadowing, is like, hey, what is that? What does that look like?
Right.
And also having the conversation beforehand. Like, these are the types of questions that you can ask me in a private setting, but on an event day, very different. Very different. Because there is no time to be clashing or trying to build a little bit of that tension, if you will. Sometimes it does happen. And so I learned that in my own journey. Oh man, I get a little choked up because it was such a learning experience that I feel that it's important, but also important to just remember you're there to be a sponge. You have to absorb everything first. absorb and learn
Mhm.
everything first. And once you've got a couple things underneath your belt, and if the planner or photographer or whoever you are mentoring is ready to have that input, then that's your cue. Then it's your cue. And it's I don't know how things are these days. It was a little different back when I started, but I mean, I would say that just because, yeah, you don't want to build tension. You want to make it easier for the person that you're mentoring.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that even if I like shoot for somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
like I try not to. I mean, because I have my own ideas,
Right.
but I always try to just stay in line with whoever the lead is, right? So if you're
Right.
the lead wedding planner, that's their. I mean, it's their wedding that you're planning for
Mm-hmm.
these clients, so they have a
Mm-hmm.
better idea of what the client is expecting. So that's the
Exactly.
same perspective I have for photography. Is like
Yeah.
I don't really know these clients as much,
Right.
and I mean, this photographer is the one that hired me, so I'm just gonna follow his lead because
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna make things a lot easier for both of us to get these
Exactly.
photos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's like also to another advice that I would give to, like, if you ask me, if I had to give advice to my younger self, like, because in the beginning too, I had my own ideas. I watched a lot of YouTube, videos, and
Yeah.
like, oh man, maybe you could do this. Luckily, I never like told like out loud like that
Uh-huh.
I was gonna like do certain things. I just always just followed the lead, which
Yes.
kind of really benefited me because I learned so much. If you
Yeah.
just have an open mind, follow whatever the lead photographer is gonna do, and the more you do it, you can take their own ideas and then you can use your own once you
Yes.
have your own weddings, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I love that you said that. I guess I just my excitement and love for it, that I just wanted to just jump in at any
Hmm.
given moment and be like, oh, we could do it like this, or we could do this. And it's like, oh no, Claudia. No, no, no. Let's not do it like this. And it's okay, that's how I learn. And I think, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question.
Well, I think. Oh, actually, no, last one. Sorry.
Yes. No
Stay
apologies.
tuned, guys. So, yeah, promise is the last question. So, um, so what's one thing that you do? Because I know wedding days are very long. They're exhausting sometimes.
Hmm.
How do you take care of yourself? Like, what's your like recovery rest plan after a wedding day?
So after the wedding day itself, it's a hot shower. It's comfy PJs, and it's sleeping in until whenever I wake up. And then that leads to a pretty large breakfast, because you realize how hungry you are.
Hmm.
So that leads to a breakfast, and then we'll either go into a planned massage or a trip to the beach to go
Awesome.
and unwind and just
That's-
kind of, because as you know, they're long days, and
Mhm.
sometimes that the fogginess in your
Mhm.
mind, the physical exhaustion from the heat and running around for X amount of hours, your feet are basically Twinkies. That's why I say invest in good shoes. And gotta have well, for me personally, I gotta have a Cadillac margarita at some point. I'm like, I deserve this. I deserve this drink.
That's so awesome.
So yeah, so that's what a recovery / self-care / day looks like after the wedding.
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna wrap it up here. But how can people find you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Find me on Time with Terrazas on Instagram, Google, and my website. So Time with Terrazas, www.timewithterrazas. Yeah, you can find me. It's weird to say that you can Google me and you will see who I am. Like, what? What?
Just
That's
Google
kind
me.
of crazy. Google me. Yeah, and so I'm also on TikTok, Time with Terrazas. Everything is just Time with Terrazas.
Perfect.
So
That makes
yeah.
it easier. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Claudia, for hopping on this podcast.
Thank you so much, Mikey.
Yeah.
I've had so much fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Again, thank you all for listening. We will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.
Bye.